Hello, beautiful. Short little video for those out of the loop. Riot is implementing WASD movement and it hit PBE, and we're having all these crazy videos, and all my darkest and deepest fears are coming true. The most average of players is going to be capable of kiting in a beautiful way, auto attack cancel, the animation just flowing, and then movement at the same time. I understand the pros. Riot want to, of course, invite new ways and different ways of playing the game, because transferring skills from other games and coming into a new game, it feels a lot better to have many different ways to play the game. Maybe at some point we're going to have first-person shooter, League of Legends, and maybe some old CS pros are going to enjoy that or some shit. Obviously, that's going to be very far-fetched, but you get the point. WSD movement, it's going to be crossover with other games, and there's going to be a skill set, and there's going to be so much easier for people to just hop into the game, because the mouse movement and the mouse control only is very, very unique to League of Legends and some of the more, older games and genres people played. Obviously, League of Legends is extremely alienating for the new player experience, so Riot is, of course, trying to make the new player experience as good as possible and as familiar as possible for anyone that played, of course, other games, which I understand and get. I also believe that Riot eventually is going to want to release League of Legends to consoles, and this is, of course, a step in that direction. But my main concern is the impact of this on the ladder, challenger, and so forth, and the competitive game. Because I don't see a world where WASD movement at peak gameplay, I don't see a world where WASD movement is not going to have just higher mechanical ceiling possibilities. And I think there's going to be a world where the current best players in the world are going to be derailed by future WASD players. Because keep in mind, you might say, well, they should just practice that. Guys, this is tens of thousands of hours of muscle memory trained. Obviously, Chovy, Ruler, these guys are getting the most out of their champions, even with their mouse movement. But keep in mind, they're doing each action with their mouse specifically. Movement, the aggression, the spell aim, the speed and the precision of the mouse is extremely, extremely important. But it's also more challenging because you need to do multiple things at the same time. If you are, for example, kiting backwards, you need to, of course, chip back and forth if you're hitting between multiple targets and so forth, and you can't really aim move. The mechanical challenge and the limitations of that are far more difficult to conquer than in the context of a WASD movement. As you can see, as my homie Vandril here, he is, of course, doing perfect kiting. I like Vandril a lot, but he's not that great of a league player, But here, he has kiting at the level of any top level ADC that you can think of, in terms of just canceling the animation and getting the most out of every auto and never canceling an auto. Because here you could just hold the move key and at the same time just aim at the enemy champion. As you can see, the enemy Sion just walking down, and he could just press down D and also right click the enemy, which means that, of course, he's just auto-attacking beautifully, auto-attacking beautifully, auto-attacking beautifully, and cancelling every auto perfect. And I personally, I don't believe in a world where the current best players in the world are going to be toppled at some point by players that have grown up on WSD. I feel like they're just playing the game in different conditions altogether. And I think this is something that might just derail, the legacy of what esports is. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's not going to have that big of an impact in terms of what, a player is going to do in the future. But the access to just perfect kiting, while people might see it as the most important thing now for ADCs, I do think that this is something that is going to impact all roles. And if someone's going to tell me, there's so many mouse presses that you need to do with casters that makes it difficult, I can see that, but I do think that this is something that is solvable with specific mice. Like if you have one of those Swifty mice with 9 buttons, the Razer mouse, you can definitely adjust it. It's just something that will require a unique version of practice. And that practice is going to be super awkward for players that have already played League for a very long time. But it's going to be very fruitful for those who are learning the game anew. I am strictly talking about mechanical skill, right? Obviously, the macro and the details of positioning and how you play like this is just things that anybody needs to learn. It's not like WASD is going to, remove macro as a concept from the game. I'm strictly talking, the mechanical ceiling of this, just control set. I simply think is just superior. This is kind of, for me, the point of comparison would be as if someone played with mouse and keyboard against people that play with controller. Like if the same amount of aim assist is in the game, the person who has the precision of the mouse is going to do far better. Obviously, the homies that played console the entire time and might be the best in the world at playing console. If suddenly they just implemented my mouse and keyboard in Call of Duty tournaments that are being played on consoles, then I think it would be insanely freaky. And then you want to what? And you're going to say, well, you can also use mouse and keyboard. Well, some players have been playing with controllers the entire damn life. And if I was Riot and I looked at the WASD movement, I think the main thing for me, right, like obviously this is helpful for people with high ping. This is helpful for people that haven't played the game a lot and want to get into the game. Helpful for many reasons for the new play experience. I understand that because this is, of course, an avenue that Riot and League of Legends is lacking in. And not only because of Riot's fault, but also because any game that has been played for such a long time is going to be inherently difficult to get into because of the skill ceiling and how solved the game is by, of course, the player base. And I understand that aspect, but as I mentioned before, I don't want the legacy of the esport to just be tainted by the fact that maybe in the future we're going to have a world where the future best players is going to be WoS players because of the ceiling of this. So I mentioned, what could Riot do? I think if someone's using the hold D and alt attack button, I do think that they should make the inputs more difficult for the movement to be perfect. I think if you're holding down the move key, I do think that you should be forced to tap it to cancel your animation rather than holding. Because I think the holding aspect is what makes it really, really bad. Because keep in mind as well, you can hold down D, and then if someone skill shots at you, you can strafe in directions super, super easy to those skill shots too. Which of course is a part of the challenge and part of the game for the people that are playing with mice. But I think that if somebody should have perfect movement, I do think that they should have to be forced to tap again to cancel the animation of their alt attack. I think this would be helpful to at least make it challenging. If you want to play in a very simple way, where you just hold and then you go through the whole animation without the cancellation, I think that would be a lot more fair. And maybe there's other ways to balance it. I haven't thought of myself. Maybe you guys can think of it. But I'm honestly scared for the future of the game, at least in terms of how it's going to affect the legacy players. Imagine a player like Faker, right? Imagine a player, you expect him to learn how to play with WASD. A man has been, playing, countless of hours, playing League of Legends the same way, the muscle memory, bro. Like if you put a keyboard on his hand and a mouse on his hand while he's sleeping, he's doing some crazy Galio Rice combos in his sleep. You just know it. You just know it for sure. And you expect him to, if other mid laners that he plays against, the new ones, the newcomers, are popping off with WSD, and that's just the limitation he has now, that's going to be, just awful. I just think it's going to be such a weird thing to balance. How do you possibly balance it? I just don't see how you can balance it. I really, I'm scared for this. I'm scared for this. I understand Riot's side, but I'm still super, super freaked out about this. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, it's been your boy, Mr. Spooked Out. Not even October yet. It's Halloween, man. I'm scared. Riot, comfort me. Show me how you're gonna balance this. Yeah, I just think the mouse movement should be the epitome of skill, because that's what it's been for a long time. If WSD is going to be the cap, I think it's tough. Because if it's, the reason I say this is because in the end, the new play experience, if they can find a way to be, sufficient and good at it, and it's not optimized, the optimized way of playing, I don't mind. That's why it just needs to be nerfed. You can play it, but it should be, you know, a little bit nerfed. That's the main thing for me. So Chovy's skill and Cap's skill and all of these guys is not going to be, you know, just diminished in the marketplace of skill just because of this implementation. I would really hate that. I would despise that. That would make me angry. I would make me so pissed. Because at that point, just release League of Legends 2. You know, release League of Legends 2 because that's what this is. This is League of Legends 2. We're going to have new history, new World Championship. It's going to look different if World's going to be won by a group of 5 guys that, you know, met at a LAN cafe in Ulaanbaatar, and they are just a Mongolian squad that are just popping off with wad skis, you know, like, it needs to be, you know, it needs to be done so safely. Yeah, once again,